Hey everyone, psychologist Dr. Ali Mattu here. Welcome to Say This Not That, the fake game show that asks how can you be a better friend to someone dealing with mental health stuff. On this episode, my friend Nate Peterson from the YouTube channel OCD and Anxiety, a licensed therapist who I thought would be the perfect fit to talk about how to be a good friend to someone who's dealing with OCD stuff. Nate, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you bringing me on here. We could talk about OCD, all the things that are super important for people to know, what to say, what to not say. It's going to be great.
It's going to be a good time. And here's how it works. And you can play along at home. Nate and I have brought examples of things people say to people who have OCD all the time. And we're going to figure out, should we say that or don't say that? And if not, what should we say instead? Nate, you ready to play?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. Should we say this? Oh, I get it. I'm so OCD.
Definitely, we do not say that. Most people think when they watch on TV, like, oh, OCD is all about organizing and making things, cleaning my room and making sure that I don't have germs. But most people don't have OCD, actually. It's something that TV has shown as like a quirky, fun thing. It usually means they don't have OCD because people aren't excited to tell you that they have OCD.
I think that statement is trying to get some type of like, oh, I get it across. What should people say instead? I
think a good support is to say, hey, I'm sorry that's something that you're struggling with. Can you help me understand it a little bit better? I know that people wash their hands. Is that true? Or I know people like their room to be clean. Is that something that you do with OCD? Have them actually explain their symptoms if they feel comfortable doing that. You might be surprised. OCD sometimes is not what you think.
I love that. So one statement can be invalidating and off-putting and maybe even judgmental. And the other one is inviting conversation and inviting a discussion and inviting understanding.
It's important to understand.
All right, for round two, we're going over to Nate. Nate, what do you got for me?
When I see people that come through my office, sometimes their parents will come to me and say, I don't know if they actually have OCD because they're not really good at cleaning their room. So if they did really well at cleaning their room, keeping things neat and tidy, that's OCD, and I don't really think they have it.
Don't say that! No, why would you say that? And people think OCD is about having order and cleanliness and organization to things, but OCD could be about feeling like you have to say a certain prayer the right way in your head, and if you don't, this anxiety about all the bad things that can happen. OCD is about people getting trapped in doubt and uncertainty, and the anxiety and rituals that sort of come out of that.
So, what do you think people should say instead?
I get where you're coming from. Let's talk about how OCD actually works and have that conversation about what the diagnosis is and what the problem is.
Keeps that conversation going and understanding. The person's going to feel heard.
Yeah, that's the old validation and psychoeducation.
You win.
Two-hit combo. Round three.
Awesome.
It's going to be fine. It's all in your head.
Ooh. We've been taught our whole life to validate someone, give them some reassurance. It's all going to be fine. But when it comes to OCD, that's not something that we say. And it seems so strange. Why would I not tell my loved one that they're okay? Everything's fine. We don't do that because what ends up happening is they get this little sliver of certainty and their brain says, oh, okay, now I feel a little bit better. But then their brain says, but are you sure? Whatever the fear or anxiety is. And it kind of starts that loop over, and they might ask you whatever question they asked you before because they know, hey, you told me everything was fine and that made me feel better, so I'm going to come back to you and do it again. And that cycle just can keep continuing.
What should people say instead?
So what we can say instead, we don't have to not acknowledge their feelings. We can acknowledge them and say, I am so sorry. This is something you're struggling with right now. I don't completely understand it myself. Is there anything I can do to maybe help you with your treatment goals that you have? It could be, can I sit with you here and while you're doing exposure and response prevention, which is this treatment we typically do for OCD. It's helping them feel loved more than try to use logic through the situation.
Love over logic. I feel like that's a shirt you should make for merch, because it's such a great message. It's such a great message to be there and make the person feel supported, and not undoing what their treatment is all about. This comes from a couple session I had. You don't expect me to do all these rituals, do you?
We do not. We do not say that. When spouses, family members, those who are supporting someone else with OCD, it can feel very taxing on them. And it's not the person's fault that has OCD. They often want relief. And so they're asking their partner or whoever else, if you just took your shoes off when you came in the door, I wouldn't feel anxious. Or if you just wash your hands, or if you would just tell me you love me every single time we walked in the same room, you would just, those are those rituals that the person feels like, I just don't want to keep doing these things. And I get it. It can be very, very taxing. So instead, something that we can say is taking up a lot of my time to have to take off my shoes, to have to tell you I love you when I walk in the room, to have to do all of these things. I love you, but I don't know if this is actually showing love. I think this is me, I feel. When we talk in those feeling words, it helps the other person understand that I have feelings too. And maybe we can come up with a plan together, especially if the person's in therapy. What can we do instead?
I love that, because it's a cliche. It's a therapist cliche. Use I feel statements. It's a cliche for a good reason, because it's super helpful. It reminds me of learning how to ride a bike. When you're a parent teaching your kid and you might be holding on to that bicycle, at some point you have to let go. And not only does that create anxiety for the kid learning how to ride a bike, it creates anxiety for you too. Like, what happens if they fall? And if you don't let go, and if you don't embrace that uncertainty, they never gain that skill. And that's exactly what you're talking about. Gaining the skill of tolerating that uncertainty.
So your loved one comes to you and they say, you've been sitting there and I can just tell there's something you're thinking. I can tell that you're having lots of thoughts. You haven't really been moving too much. Is there anything I can do to help you?
Say it! Say it! Say it 1,000 times! I love that! That's great! That's a good one. You are showing your concern, your love, your compassion, and you are approaching that person in a curious and supportive way. And I think if you are ever concerned about someone else, a friend, family member, partner, express that concern.
So bonus question with that.
Ooh, bonus question.
What if you go to them and you say, you've just been thinking all day long, get off the couch, let's go outside, be done, stop thinking about it. We've already talked about this. We've discussed it many times. You just need to get over it.
Yeah, no, you're out of here. No, that is... So what you're doing right there is you're passing a ton of judgment. And particularly, you're judging someone who is deeply struggling with an OCD problem, experiencing anxiety, and when you call someone lazy who is struggling with this stuff, it's so offensive, because people with any anxiety-based problem, they spend so much time suffering before something happens, during that event, and then afterwards as well. And you have no idea how much they're battling these demons. And I've heard that time and again. They're so lazy; they just sit there. It's like, well, you don't know what's going on in their head. Anxiety is so often an invisible problem. I think people who struggle with depression and mood-based problems, they experience that same kind of thing where they're called lazy. No, never say that. If you do say that, it's a great way to lead to a fight or more misunderstanding. All right, Nate, I got one for you. You don't look OCD.
People probably are looking at the way that you are organized or the way that you do certain behaviors. Most of the time they're like, well, you don't wash your hands that often. I think that's another moment to educate the person. So this is what, the media kind of portrays OCD as, but people wash their hands, but that is a small portion of those who have OCD. Here's another one for you. Your loved one comes to you and they say, I am just struggling today. I had this thought while I was driving. I'm not sure if I did something wrong and I don't know if I need to go back and check. Do you think that I'm okay? And the response is, I can't answer that for you, but I do love you.
I'm going to say, you can say it. I'm also going to say we can refine it. Can I? I want to talk to the judges. Is that okay? Can I say that? We can say something like, I want to answer that question for you. I also want to help you with your OCD. And based on everything we've talked about, if I answer that question, I'm giving you reassurance, which might keep you stuck in the OCD loop. So I'm going to not answer that question because I think this is your OCD and I think this is the best way to help you.
Love that.
What do you think about that?
That's a perfect response. That's great. You're validating their feelings. You're sharing why you're not going to answer this question specifically. That's perfect.
And then sometimes we say things like this. Stop being so crazy. Or stop being a nut. Or you sound psycho. Should you say that?
No, don't say that. It's not great. I would say don't say that for anybody, not even OCD. But emotions raise high. People say things they don't mean, and we don't say that. Instead, what we do say, kind of going back to previous things, we validate feelings. We can say, I'm feeling very frustrated because I really wanted to go to this baseball game and you're going through something right now. But we all make mistakes. That's where we give ourselves some grace for it as well and learn through experiences like that didn't work so well when I said that. Next time, this is what I'm going to say instead.
Nate, I'm calculating my points and it looks like we're both winners here. Actually, the true winners are, I don't know, mental health. However, Nate, I want to learn a lot more about OCD. Where can I go, and anxiety? Where can I go to learn more about all of that stuff?
Well, my YouTube channel, OCD and Anxiety, that's the name of it. So you would kind of assume I probably have some videos on that. One of my favorite videos that I have that provides so much information about OCD and actually gives real true tips is 25 tips for succeeding in OCD treatment. Well, that's something you can go watch right now on the screen here somewhere, wherever you got that.
Right there. I put it right here. Folks, go watch it. It's good stuff. Thanks for being on the show, Nate, and thanks for watching. What stuff have people told you about OCD that you found really helpful or actually really harmful? Let us know in the comments below.